I think people would describe me as someone who is a go-getter.
When Joey left Ghana for the UK, he juggled university and a part-time job flipping burgers at McDonald's. 12 years later, he owns 3 of them. But how did he go from flipping burgers to owning 3 McDonald's? Listen in to find out.
I applied to a job in McDonald's and got accepted, did my interview and became a customer care assistant, to now owning and operating my own McDonald's business. So now it's kind of like a full circle moment. Someone said to me that a salary is the bribe that someone gives you to forget to pursue your own dreams and aspirations. So for every 100 people that apply to become a McDonald's franchisee, only 2 people get selected.
Hi neighbors, welcome back to Stories Next Door. I'm your host, JEICY Joyce. When I met Joey, who is my guest today, I knew that I need to sit down with him and have a conversation because his story is very inspirational. Joey has 3 McDonald's franchises. How he got into it, he'll let us know. But I said, you know what? He's a brother. I want to bring him on and sit down with him and have a conversation of how he was able to accomplish that in a foreign land, that is. So, Joey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Glad I got the memo to put my black shirt on as well. So we're matching, which is great.
Yes, it's all black on black.
Thank you very much for having me.
Joey, if I was to ask your friends to describe you in 3 words or in a sentence, what would they say?
I think people would describe me as someone who is a go-getter, someone who sets his sights on something and really works really hard to get to it. And I think it's been a trait throughout my childhood all the way up to what I'm doing now. And I'm just lucky to be able to be someone who is able to be so fixated on the vision that I'll do everything to get to it. And I think that is how most people who actually know me would describe me.
Yes. So I met you a couple of months ago at UK
yes,
Black Business Week.
Yes, indeed.
And you were standing at a McDonald's stand, and I was like, wow, okay, what's a brother doing here? So I had to speak to you and have a conversation. Yeah. So who is Joey?
So my name is Joey Antwi Kusi, and I'm a McDonald's franchisee. I operate 3 McDonald's restaurants here in the UK. 2 that are based in East London and 1 that is based in Essex. So that is my day-to-day, looking after about 300 employees that work in my business, serving fried hot fries and burgers to our McDonald's customers in these locations. And that's my day job. Yes.
And where did you move from to the UK? How was that transition moving to the UK?
So taking it a little bit back, I was born and bred in Ghana. Exciting growing up in Ghana is just a strong sense of community, explosion of culture, and I really enjoyed kind of my childhood. I have very fond memories growing up in Ghana, but I always had this drive that I wanted to do something. And like many people, as much as I saw myself as a citizen of Ghana, I also saw myself as a citizen of the world.
Yes.
And so my ambitions were still the same. I actually want to do well in life, want to create something that would not just touch myself, but a generation. And so I was educated in Ghana up onto undergraduate level, and then won a scholarship to come to the UK to pursue a master's degree. And I think for me, that was a very life-changing moment for me, because obviously in Ghana, there is limited access to capital. You know, by extension, that means there is limited access to opportunity as well. But coming into the UK and starting kind of life at 22, trying to integrate into a community that is very different from the one that I grew up in, was quite a big challenge, whilst at the same time studying for a master's degree. And I remember someone saying to me, Joey, welcome to the UK. You need a part-time job. You need to make some money, look after yourself and stuff like that. So I applied to a job in McDonald's and got accepted, did my interview and became a customer care assistant. And that was my first job in the UK. Absolutely loved it. It was interacting with customers, meeting crew members, talking to them. And I did that for a couple of years whilst I was still studying for a master's degree. But deep down within me, I knew that I still wanted to complete my master's in finance and kind of pursue a career in corporate, and then potentially look at owning my own business. And so now it's kind of like a full circle moment where I had this 2 year excitement, being a customer care assistant working in McDonald's, to now owning and operating my own McDonald's business. And for me, that is it's just a fantastic opportunity to be able to do that in a short space of about 12 to 14 years from the time that I first landed in the UK. It's a very exclusive opportunity. In the UK, there's just about 200 franchisees that run anywhere between about 1,500 restaurants. So to be one of such a group of people running restaurants, for me, is just an incredible thing, and really proud of the opportunity and the journey so far.
Yes. So I also came to the UK as a student.
Yep.
And I had to integrate into a society that was very different
Yep.
from how it is back
Yep.
home, and life and the weather and the
Yep.
people, just
Absolutely.
everything.
Yep.
How did you find that integration?
It's challenging, but like I said at the beginning, for me, I've always seen myself as a citizen of the world. So I knew that, yes, these are challenges that you have to go through. You know, you have to adapt to behavioral changes to whilst you're studying at the same time, probably doing a degree that is even harder as a postgraduate degree than what you've done in your undergraduate degree. So you're adjusting to that as well. You probably get a part-time job. So there's a lot of changes that happen at the time. And for me, it was challenging as well. But I always kind of go back to Thomas Edison has a saying. He says that, you know, success is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So it's good to have the inspiration and the dream to achieve, but the hard work, the sweat then comes after that. So I think I kind of kept that vision at the forefront of my mind. Yes, these changes are hard and it's difficult to integrate into the society. But once I am confident in my dream, I just need to keep pursuing it, and then I'll get it. I think a lot of people give up very early in their journey, where they come to a different environment, and the first thought that hits their mind is, oh, this is very different. You know, I am this age, I'm this years old, it's going to be very hard to achieve my goal. And they start to step back from that kind of initial dream that they had. Whereas I think for me, it was always, you know what, it's challenging, but I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to do the best that I can. And I think that kind of underpins a lot of the success that I've seen today.
Mm-hmm. So you obviously come to the UK.
Yeah.
You do your
Master's
studies
degree.
here.
Yeah.
Then you work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
After graduation, you go back into working in finance then.
Yeah, that's correct. So I applied for a job, a graduate job with the Royal Bank of Scotland. They're now branded as a NatWest now. Once again, very tough interview process. I think they had a success rate of about 3 or 4% the year that I applied. So I was one of 83 people that were selected in 2012 to do a graduate program with the Royal Bank of Scotland. So my time was split between spending time in a branch, going to a call center. I spent some time in Leicester in the UK, and then kind of moved to head office role where I did project management. And once again, my dream and my goals were always the same. How do I prove myself as someone that is adding value to the business? So really enjoyed my time in the bank, became a project manager, one that did quite well, helping the bank implement regulatory changes, and really enjoyed that. A time came where I thought, hang on a second, I think I want to be pushed a little bit further. So moved from banking into management consulting with a global firm called Accenture. And once again, enjoyed my time there. But for me, it was a very difficult transition from the culture of McDonald's, working as a customer care assistant, then going into a bank, you know, solving problems, implementing change, having multiple stakeholders, you know, at different levels in the organization, and then transitioning into a management consulting role where you are in boardrooms talking to very senior people, telling them about how you're going to solve their problems for them, and presenting solutions that you then implement. So very exciting journey, very
It is a very exciting journey, because I'm thinking about it, right? So you move from McDonald's, you end up working in Royal Bank of Scotland.
Yeah.
That was the name back in the day. And then you move to Accenture. It's like you've always you just want to move farther and farther and just do better for yourself. Where does that come from?
I think for me, I see life as this. You always have to challenge something. And for me, that thing is the person that I was yesterday.
Fantastic.
So if I wake up every morning, I ask myself, how do I become better than the Joey of yesterday? And, you know, when you do something for a period of time and you don't see growth, you've got to ask yourself, what do I need to do now to grow? And I think that has always been my challenge. And even today, you know, as a McDonald's franchisee running 3 restaurants, it is still the same thing. How do I become better tomorrow? How do I become better in 5 and 10 years? So when I kind of look at my 10, 20-year plan, it gives me a lot of excitement because I know it's going to be better than what I'm doing today. And I think that is an approach that I urge a lot of young people that I coach and I mentor to take. You need to reward the person that you're going to be tomorrow by investing in yourself today so that you can get better results tomorrow. There is no point staying the same level of skill and aptitude for a very long time. It doesn't give you that satisfaction that you might be looking for.
Yeah. You have a secure job at Accenture.
I did.
Why would you start a business? Because a business is not 9 to 5.
No.
A business is 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's hustle. You have to have the resilience. You have to have everything. So why did you do it?
Yeah, and I think for me as well, you end up doing so many different jobs. You're your admin person, you're your people manager, you're HR manager, and there's a lot that you kind of do when you enter into entrepreneurship. I think I had this dream, and I knew that I wanted to create something that made a legacy I've got 3 young children, and I wanted to live a life where they can look at it and say they're proud that their father invested in himself and created a legacy. And I kind of also wanted to make a change. There's this theory that I kind of remember very well because my university lecturer in a business class once used this. It's called the McClelland theory of needs. And it basically says that every human being has 3 needs. There's a need for power, there's a need for affiliation, and there's a need for achievement. And he goes on to say that if someone has a need for affiliation, they want to have friends, they want to have a comfortable life, they want to talk to people, they want people to like them. And people that have that as a bigger need, they go on to do different things. Whereas there are people that have a very strong need for achievement. They want to solve problems. They want to accomplish goals. They want to be able to challenge themselves. And obviously there's the need for power where it's normally seen in leaders. So people that kind of go on to lead nations, become presidents and stuff like that. And he says that depending on the kind of need that you have, it kind of drives you to either want to be an entrepreneur, want you to get a very secure, comfortable life, or want to do that. And I remember my university lecturer once using me as an example in a class of about 40 people and saying, oh yeah, you see that guy Joey over there, he hasn't got a need for affiliation at all. He likes to have friends, but that is not a priority for him. What he wants to do is he wants to achieve, and obviously he wants to lead people as well because he's the president of the class. And that really stuck with me. And I think growing up, going into entrepreneurship, it was always there in the back of my head saying that if I have this very strong need for achievement, I know I will never, ever be comfortable staying in a 9 to 5 because I'll always be looking back saying, what have I achieved? Someone said to me that a salary is the bribe that someone gives you to forget to pursue your own dreams and aspirations. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I stayed in a very comfortable 9 to 5 job where I knew every month the amount of money that was going to hit my bank account because that was on my pay slip. And I kind of just wanted to challenge myself and then build something for myself. So ended up pursuing entrepreneurship where you don't know where your paycheck is going to come from. You're running your own business. You're doing so many things. It's a 24/7 job, but it gives you that fulfillment. And that is kind of my journey so far.
So there's always a sense of fear when you're living that 9 to 5.
Yeah.
How did you push through that fear?
The fear is always there. I mean, even today, it is there. When I think about my goals for the next 20 years, it gives me fear. I look at that and I go, how am I going to be able to achieve that? But I think you always have to look at the fact that you do the best that you can do and just leave the rest for later. Just focus on what part can I play? Can I create a plan that I can focus on? That has always been my approach. So yes, I'm fearful. What if the economy crashes? What if business collapses? What if there is an outbreak of something where therefore my customers don't turn up next day? How am I going to be able to pay my employees? There is always going to be that fear, and you have a choice to either focus on the fear factor or to focus on the things that are within your control that you can clearly control to be able to achieve results. And I think for me, I kind of tend to close the door on fear and say, how do I work on these things that are within my gifts to be able to control?
Yeah, I interviewed someone recently, Simon Squibb, who goes around London asking people,
amazing guy,
what
love
their
Simon.
dreams are. Yeah. And when you listen to his clips online, people are always fearful of. So, what would you tell someone who is thinking of living their 9 to 5? Maybe they have a fund that a safety net that they could fall back to. but they're just scared of like, is it gonna happen?
Yeah.
Is it gonna work? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would say take calculated risks. Sometimes the fear is there for a reason. We've evolved as human beings to have this fear to protect us from the adverse effects in life. So that fear is there for a reason, but you have to be able to access that and say, what dream do I have? I have a product or a solution or a service that I want to provide. Can I monetize that? What is the plan behind that? How do I bring this thing to market and be able to create some form of income, which means that I don't end up homeless on the street because, I haven't got any income at all. So I think there has to be a balance of, yes, I'm fearful that this might not work, but then you have to be able to do your homework to say, how does this dream that I have, how does that become reality? And then you've got to do that. In many phases of my life, I have had to do multiple things at once. So I talk about obviously, working in consulting and doing all this stuff. But in parallel to that, I have done things as a side hustle to help me generate some form of income that will always be a buffer. So when I kind of said goodbye to my job in consulting, I knew that all the things that I'd done over the years had created for me some form of a safety net so that I can rely on that whilst I go through or chase my dreams. And I think a lot of people forget that. We always think about, yes, this is the thing that I want to go for, but I don't want to leave my very secure income to be able to pursue that. But you can do it in two ways. You can say, one, I'm going to build a safety net by doing things in parallel, which means you might have your 9 to 5, but when that finishes, you're doing a 5 to 9, where you're pursuing something that gives you something to lean on whilst you chase your own dreams. And I think the second part is just saying, I'm going to go for it because I have a plan to bring this dream to life. And I think that is the best way to balance the two. But you cannot just ignore the fear. Mm-hmm. The fear is there for a reason. You just got to be able to look at it in a different perspective.
There's this beautiful quote that says, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Absolutely.
So you just got to jump.
You just got to go for it. Absolutely, yeah.
So working in corporate,
yeah.
What type of skills did you pick to be able to support you while starting your own business?
I think the biggest thing would be problem solving. And that is the whole premise of management consulting. Management consulting, the task is you go into a business that has got so much going on, and they think that you as a consultant, you have the expertise to pick a problem, unpick it, and then present a solution, and then sell that solution and say, this is how we're going to make this thing work for your organization, and help them to implement that. And I think for me, that was the best skill that I could pick for where my journey has led me to now, because it's a very useful skill to have, where you go, okay, I might be running a business. There is a challenge to it, and there will always be challenges in entrepreneurship and business. But how do I create a plan for that problem and help roll that out? So I think one of the skills that being a change manager in the bank and eventually becoming a management consultant gave me was that problem solving skills, where if anyone in my team calls me right now and says, Joey, we have a problem that we need to deal with now, my first instinct is, what is the solution? How do we create a solution to that problem? It might not solve the problem today, but it puts us on a track to be able to achieve that solution. And I think that is one of the best skills that I could ever pick in my corporate career, which has really been useful in my entrepreneur journey and where I kind of seek to go in the future.
Yeah, I think in everything you require to solve a problem. So solving problem is definitely something. Yeah. So when we think about franchising, right? I hear franchising, but not so many of us know what is franchising or what gets involved in it. So how did you get into it? Okay. How did you learn about it? Yeah. And why McDonald's?
A good question. So franchising is basically a very established brand saying that, you can trade as a business person with our name. And therefore, on day one, customers come to you because it's an established brand, and then you pay us a percentage of the profits that you make. And a lot of businesses use that model to scale up and to dominate across, multiple regions in the world. So I knew that this is a model that really works, because if you want to scale your business as quickly as possible, then the best way to do it is to trade under a name that is well known, well respected, where customers will come to you from day one. So I think that was why I was drawn to the franchise model as a form of business. McDonald's, because one, it's just got the reputation. I think I was just reading an article recently. It's the number one brand. It dominates a lot of regions in the world, and people, especially in the UK, where we live now, people just love it. I take my kids to swimming and swimming lessons on the weekends, and then I hear the other parents say to the kids, "Oh, do good swimming," and after that, we're going to take you to McDonald's.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I think a lot of families just gravitate to that. So I think for me, it was, yes, I want to do business and I want to scale it very quickly, but I also want to do it under the franchising model, which means I can be successful right from day one. And McDonald's, because I had that affiliation with them, having worked with them for a couple of years by accident, by the way, when I first came to the UK. Now, the challenge with becoming a McDonald's franchisee is that it's the success rate is about 2%. So for every 100 people that apply to become a McDonald's franchisee, only 2 people get selected. Now, the system has been designed like that for a reason. One, they need to select people that you're very confident will protect the brand. And also they need to select people that they know will run the businesses in the way that protects the brand, in the longer term going forward. So it is a privilege for me to be in this position where I've been a successful applicant and I'm now running McDonald's franchises in the UK. But yeah, I think for me it was just the power of the brand, my affinity to it, because I'd worked for it a couple of years when I first kind of landed in the UK. I was a young 22-year-old, and so far it's proven to be a very exciting opportunity, and I've just loved every single day being a McDonald's franchisee.
Yeah. So you spoke about how you got a scholarship to come to the UK.
Yeah.
Then you spoke about how you got into RBS, okay?
Yeah.
Like it was a percentage of
Yeah.
you, right? Then now you're talking about like it's a percentage of people
Yeah.
to get into McDonald's. Do you consider yourself lucky?
There is an element of luck to it, and I think it's this famous American golfer who said that success is some percentage of luck and another percentage of preparation. So I definitely do see myself as a very privileged person who's been able to achieve something very substantial in a short space of time. And part of that is luck. Part of that is being in the right place at the right time, which is pretty much what luck is. But there's a lot of preparation that will sit behind that success as well. And so anytime that I set myself to go into anything, I ask myself, I am going to be there at this opportunity knocking on the door with a whole lot of other people. How do I present myself in a way so that whoever is behind the desk is telling themselves, I have to give this young man an opportunity because they 100% deserve it. And so I go into any process, anything that I set my mind to, preparing myself to be the most successful. One of my dreams at the moment is over the next 15 to 20 years, being able to go to Chicago, which is where McDonald's head office is, and presenting them a proposal to say that I have run multiple restaurants here in the UK. You haven't got McDonald's in West Africa, where, there are countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Senegal that have a very booming population. I have got access to real estate, the best locations in this part of the world. I've got access to private equity. I've got banking backing behind me as well. And therefore, if you give me the master license to operate 300 restaurants in this part of the world, this is how much money I can add to your profit and loss statements, and your shareholders are going to be really happy with you. How about that? Can we talk about that? And when I look at that kind of opportunity, that dream, that aspiration, I know that I need to prepare right from today to put myself in a situation where if I sit behind the table to put forward that proposal, that can become successful. So yes, at that point when it does become successful, I will consider myself really lucky to be the person that was able to introduce the McDonald's brand to that part of the world. But there would have been a lot of preparation that comes behind it that people don't see. It's a bit like an iceberg. Where you see an iceberg, you just see the tip of it and you're like, oh, that's a huge iceberg. But way beneath it is everything that sits behind that. And I think sometimes in success in business looks like that. A lot of people see all the things that you do, that you share on, LinkedIn and all the success behind that. But no one actually sees the midnight oil that you're burning just to be able to achieve that success. And I think my journey has been a little bit like that.
Yes, no one actually sees that. And it's there. Like you look at like the big YouTubers, Mr. Beast, for instance.
Absolutely.
He uploaded 456
Yeah.
uploads until he became viral.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but now we're looking at him like, yeah, it's Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
back work that requires
Yes.
you to
Yeah.
achieve greatness. So how did you become a McDonald's franchise? Just talk us through the process. If someone wants to get into franchising.
Yeah, it's a very lengthy process. My process took about 11 months. I think on average it takes about 6 to 9 months. Mine was a little bit longer because it was summer break and then there was a lot happening. It's just after COVID as well. But, right from the day you apply, you put in an application, you tell them about yourself, your motivations, your inspirations, why you want to partner with McDonald's as a franchisee, and you tell them about your financial situation because obviously you're buying into a business and you need the funds to be able to do that. If they like what they see, they invite you to an interview where you present to them basically everything that you said in your application process, but elaborating more, telling them why they should select you to progress, beyond the other people that have applied as well. If they like what they hear, they then put you in a restaurant for a week where they put you in a crew uniform, they put you in the kitchen, they ask you to survive for a week. They ask a consultant to come into the restaurant to observe you, how you interact with people, how you interact with the business and things like that. The business manager of that restaurant also makes an assessment of you. And at the end of that 1 week period, you make a presentation to say, this is my time in this restaurant. This is everything that I've learned. And if I was the franchisee in this restaurant, this is what I would do differently. So that presentation goes to head office, they review it, they look at your business acumen, your insight, and they listen to the people that you worked with for that 1 week period. How was he like? How was his engagement? Is he going to survive in this environment beyond more than 5 days? And they kind of look at that. If they like what they see, there is a series of interviews that you then go through. You meet very senior people in the organization all the way up to the executive level. And they all make assessments of, is this individual, based on how we know about business, are they going to be successful in this McDonald's brand? Will they be able to run the business? Once they form their own opinion, they invite an independent organizational psychologist to spend some time with you for a couple of hours, getting to know you, your motivations, your background. You do some psychometric tests as well. And then if the perspective of this independent person matches their own perspective, they then do a financial verification to say, you say you have this money to invest. Where does that come from? How have you made it? Is it legal? Is everything fine? So all that process takes a very long time. They gather a lot of information about you. They do all the background check. And then you attend a panel interview where the most senior people in McDonald's leadership in the UK spend a couple of hours grilling you, getting to really know why you think you're the best candidate for the job. And if they like what they hear, they tell you you're going to be a franchisee.
Oh, wow. It is a lengthy process.
Really tough process.
Yes, involves a lot of things. But I guess, they're also trying to protect their brand at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you get a phone call or you get an email that, yes, you've made it. How was that feeling for you?
It's I remember very well the day that I got called by the recruitment consultant to say that you've been successful in the process. I actually wept, and I don't normally do this. I remember my wife being there when I got the call, and she said to me, we got married, you didn't cry, you didn't weep. We had our first child, you didn't cry. And you get a call to say you're going to be a McDonald's franchisee and you're crying. For me, it's that relief, it's that validation that everything that I have believed in is actually true. People see this side of me that I may doubt sometimes. And doubt is normal. Every successful person, has doubts. They sometimes ask themselves, am I good enough to be able to do this? So that is normal. And anyone that is kind of watching this, asking themselves, am I cut out for this vision that I have? You 100% are. Everyone doubts themselves sometimes. And it's about pushing yourself to be able to achieve that. So yeah, it's a very surreal feeling getting that call to say that we've interacted with you multiple times over an 11-month period, and we still 100% believe that you're the one person that we need to put into this business to drive this business going forward. And it's just an amazing feeling. It's very strong validation.
Yes, I can only imagine that feeling. So what was the most surprising thing about franchising a business?
I think for me, it was the challenges that are embedded in the business. one of my stores trade 24/7. So that means our doors are open 24/7, which means that any time in the day, there could be a problem. And as a franchisee, the buck stops with you. So you can expect a call at 2 a.m. in the morning, at 3 a.m., whatever time it is at all. And I think when I first became a franchisee, I had to build that sensitivity to the challenges that come to the business. And I had a lot of emotional attachment to it in my first month as a franchisee. And as I saw the problems grow, the more you run the business, the more you get to know it, the more you understand the business quite well, you get to a place where you have to take out the emotional attachment. And that just allows you to make logical decisions. So I think for me, the biggest challenge was to go, hang on a second, this is a business. It will have challenges. We will deal with it. There's some of them I don't need to freak out. I don't need to be nervous. I don't need to be anxious. As long as we take the right steps. Yes, it is my business. I borrowed money from the bank. I need to pay my interest every month. But at the end of the day, it's a business and it will run if we do all the things we need to do. So I think the biggest change, and a lot of entrepreneurs go through that, you've got to take out the emotional attachment. That allows you to make logical decisions to drive your business. And it's a very big leap from running or working 9 to 5 where there isn't any emotional attachment. There might be a little bit because you still want to be successful in your role, but then it's very different from running your business. And you have to be able to detach yourself from that to be able to achieve success in that business.
So managing 300 plus employees is no joke at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Everyone has an opinion.
For anyone, I'd imagine. What is your leadership style?
I think 2 things. One, I believe in servant leadership. I believe that the essence of leadership is to create leaders, not to create followers. And a lot of people think I'm the leader, everyone follows me. But my number one job in my business is to empower people, is to give people the tools that allow them to be successful in the role, which then gives me time to then step back and then do other things as well that help grow the business. So I believe in servant leadership. How do I serve my people? How do I give them the tools? How do I empower them? I think it was one podcaster in the UK who said that his job as a leader is basically a recruitment consultant. He recruits the best people that he can. He develops them, he empowers them, and he lets them run his business. And I think my leadership style is a lot like that. And I think the second part of my leadership style is leading with a plan. The worst thing you can have in a leader is a leader who doesn't have a plan, doesn't have a sense of direction, doesn't know where the business is going. How do you follow someone like that when you don't know where you're going? And I think it's very frustrating for a lot of people who are working in business or with leaders or with bosses that don't give them any sense of direction. And I think for me, that is the biggest thing that as a leader you can do is to say, guys, this is the plan now. Sometimes you might not even like it, but this is the plan. We're going to do that. If it doesn't work, we might change course, but stick with me. Let's go after this. So yeah, my leadership style is a bit of one. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to give you the tools. We're going to have a plan. Let's work together. Let's achieve this. And when you approach it from that perspective, it makes looking after 300 employees a lot more easier because everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to come to you, wants to have a chat, wants to share, and you have to be able to listen to everyone.
How long has it been since you started your first McDonald's?
September 2023. So that is about 18 months at the moment.
Yeah, and what has been the most rewarding experience or part of running the business?
I think the most rewarding part of the business is always when you see customers walk away from our doors very satisfied and saying, we really like the service. This McDonald's is different. We like the engagement that we had here as well. And whenever I kind of hear customers giving me that unfiltered opinion, sometimes even some of them not knowing that I own the business, it just gives me so much satisfaction. It just tells me that everything that we're doing in the business is working. And therefore, our customers who are obviously the reasons why we exist, they are definitely enjoying what we do. So I think that has been the most satisfying thing. Once again, we recently opened a new branch in Essex, which was the hardest thing that I'd ever done as a McDonald's franchisee. It's basically walking into a building that has got no equipment, no people, no customers, nothing at all, and building that from 0 to 100 at 60 miles an hour. And it is just a very challenging thing to do. It's bringing everything together. And when your customers walk through the door of a new restaurant, they don't care that you opened today or you opened yesterday. They expect the same quality, the same food, the same service, and for me that has been a really challenging yet really rewarding thing to be able to open a new restaurant in a new location and still have customers say, we really like this service and thank you for all you're doing, guys. And it's an amazing to be able to walk into your restaurant and enjoy, the same quality of service that would get elsewhere.
Yes. As an entrepreneur, sometimes there's those low moments, right? Yeah. Where you think like, why did I even start this? Okay, is it going to work? Have you ever experienced that in your journey?
Yeah, 100%. There are times like that. There are times like that where I have a plan or an entrepreneur might have a plan and it doesn't quite work out the way that you want to. And you're asking yourself, am I in the right thing? Am I in the right place? Is this the right thing to do? So yeah, that moments where, you have some doubts. But the best thing that you can do as a leader is to say, yes, there are challenges that we've had, but those are things that we're going to learn and take away. Someone said to me, anytime you do something that doesn't work, you have these doubts. This is data. This is very valuable insights that allow you to then create a solution going forward. And Edison said the same. Thomas Edison said the same thing as well, that anytime he did something that doesn't work, he'd found, a way or 10,000 ways of how something should not be done. And so, yes, there are doubts that are there that present themselves every now and again. But for me, it's okay. If that has not worked the way we intended it to, then that means we know another way not to do it. And we can do something else to try to get our goals and to try to reach our vision. And I encourage every business person, every entrepreneur to see those challenges in that light to be able to push forward towards achieving their own goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you say this is one of the best decisions you've ever made as an entrepreneur for a business?
100%. I have no doubt. And once again, the future excites me even much more than the present. And what that does for me is that it keeps me humble. It says that you might be doing these things now. Yes, they sound very accomplished. They sound very successful, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of work that you need to put in to achieve your goals. So yeah, I'm really excited to be in this space now. I do not miss my 9 to 5 because this job gives me a lot of flexibility. I can spend time with my kids whenever I want to. I can spend time in my business whenever I want to. That control stays firmly with me. Whereas if you're working as a management consultant and you've got client meetings, the client dictates when to meet, what you do, how much time you spend in the business and stuff like that. So it's a very rewarding thing to do running your own business. It takes time to get that flexibility, but when it comes, it's very enjoyable. And I think once again, looking at the future trajectory that I'm pursuing, for me, I'm really glad to be in a position where I can pursue those opportunities. And yeah, it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah. So I snooped a bit on your LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I can see that you're really big on diversity and inclusion. Yeah. How have you been able to bring this to your restaurant?
It's a big thing. It's a challenging thing. And obviously, as an immigrant as well, I am very much aware of the challenges that people from diverse ethnic backgrounds, gender minorities face in any environment. And so anytime I have the opportunity, I want to use my role or my profile or my platform to be able to give opportunities to people that are from backgrounds that are very different from the majority. And sometimes the limitations are very different. Sometimes there might be some language barriers. That means that people cannot speak up as much as other people can. Sometimes it's just a lack of confidence that you need to build in people so they can stand up and speak up for themselves to be able to progress. And sometimes it's just mentoring people. And so one of the things that I've been doing, not just actually in my business, in my community as well, is looking at people from very different backgrounds, very diverse minorities, and saying to them, how do I support you? How do I give you the tools you need to be able to compete with everybody else in my organization? How do we build the leadership skills in you so that you can grow up to become a leader in my organization? And so that is at the forefront of every decision that we make. It's not just about looking at the people that speak up the most and saying that, yeah, you're doing a good job and therefore we're going to progress you, but we're going to look at every single person. We're going to include everyone in our development plan. We're going to support people to grow. And if they demonstrate talent and if they are very kind of keen to grow, we'll give them all the tools they need so that they can achieve success. And I think that if we approach every single business or environment that way, would have a lot of very strong diversity in our business because people from all backgrounds will have the tools to grow. And it's a lot like looking at equity, because sometimes you kind of just give people the same tools and expect them to go or achieve the same results. Sometimes you've just got to give people different levels of support, different levels of coaching. And for me, that is my tool. I wouldn't give everyone the same level of coaching because everyone might need something very different. But how do I tailor my leadership to support everyone who has demonstrated that they want to grow, and basically supporting them to achieve those goals?
Yes. So in my previous role, I worked with McDonald's, and they had apprentices on that I looked after.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that was an eye opener, because when I thought of McDonald's, I was like, okay, it's just work 9 to 5, you go and that's it. There is no probably personal development and stuff like that. But it's beautiful that you said that you also support people and help them grow, because at the end of the day, I think that's what people want. You know, not they want to get from one point to another. So that's really good that you're doing that. So one piece of advice that you'd give to someone who is looking to start a franchise, what would you say?
I would say it's not a bed of roses. It's a lot of hard work. So you need to ask yourself, have I got the entrepreneurial drive to be able to see this through? Because if you're not going to see it through, then you might as well not start. So you really need to sit down and ask yourself, am I willing to make some sacrifices in my life to be able to achieve my goals? A lot of people don't want to do that. Everyone wants to be able to relax, go on holiday here and again, just chill and then, get the goals. But it doesn't work like that. You've got to be able to put in the hard work. So number one advice, sit down, look in the mirror, ask yourself, do I really want to pursue this? Is this for me? If the answer is yes, then you need to take a calculated risk. You need to have a plan and say, I'm going to do it this way. This is my customer base. This is the franchise that I'm going to talk to. This is the funds that I've raised, and put things on paper. Have that vision board that you kind of say, this is what I want to achieve, and then start to pursue that. Because if you don't do this, you're going to just end up knocking on so many doors, not being very structured, not presenting yourself in the best possible way, trying different things, and you're going to give up very early because you're going to say, well, it hasn't quite worked and I've tried all these things. But sit down, make sure that you really want to do this, take very calculated risk, prepare yourself for every single opportunity, network with people, find out what this is all about, and then present yourself in a way that makes anyone making the decision say, I really want to do this business with this person because I really like how they presented themselves to me.
Yeah, I am really big with networking.
Yeah.
I always advocate for people to put themselves out there, and because you never know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely.
Look at us. We're having a conversation now.
Yeah, learning so much. And networking is very important. And I did a lot of that, and I still do that today. I did a lot of that in the early part of my career. How do I identify people that have gone through my journey, who have gone through the same challenges? How do I learn from them? And if I can do that successfully, that means that I can avoid making the mistakes that they made. I actually did something very similar in my university life as well, where I won a scholarship, obviously, to come to the UK. But that was on the back of a very crafty strategy that I had, where if I did well in a lot of subjects, yes, I would kind of build that foundation and I'll study really hard and I'll sit my exams. But if there were certain courses or certain subjects where it wasn't just my stronghold, I'd go to those people in class who were answering questions, engaging with the lecturers, and say, can I spend some time with you? Can you show me how to do these things? Can you teach me how to be as good as you are? And by doing that, I might not still be the first in that particular course or that subject, but I'll do so well that on average, I will still turn up as the top person in my class. So you've got to go to people that are good at certain things and just learn from them. There is no shame in learning from people how they've done it and avoiding making the mistakes they've made. It's a life hack. It's a shortcut to success that you can take with very zero risk attached to it.
Yeah. Growing up in Ghana, did you ever think in your wildest dream that you'd ever own a McDonald's?
No, it was never in the cards. I'm actually not a very good cook as well. I barely cook at home. And growing up, my dad had a construction business, and I think, if anything at all, the number one business that I saw myself in was probably going to be into real estate. But I happen to be in the quick service restaurant business now. I've also absolutely enjoyed it. My vision is to even grow to potentially take this brand into that part of the world. So yeah, as a young boy growing up in Ghana, yes, I saw myself as someone that would potentially do well for myself if I put my mind to it. And I believed it when my teacher said to me, "You've got potential, you've got to push yourself." I really kind of believed in it, but I never saw myself as running, multiple franchises in London and operating McDonald's. That never occurred to me ever as a young boy in Ghana.
Yeah, no, obviously. Joey, your story is very inspirational.
No, thank you
Honestly,
very much.
growing up in Africa, then owning McDonald's in a first world country in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful, honestly. I'm literally lost for words. It's very beautiful. Okay. Time for some fun questions to end the
Let's do
podcast.
it.
Yeah. So if you could franchise any other business apart from McDonald's, which one would it be?
That's a tough one, and I haven't thought about it. Once again, I have a lot of love for real estate, and so yes, it'll probably be a real estate development business, and therefore being able to develop houses and home and accommodation for people that are looking for. I think for me, it's all about being able to solve a problem, and I think that it's a challenge that everyone has. We all need a house to live under. So yes, if I could do something else, we probably would be kind of into real estate.
Mm-hmm. So McDonald's menus, they always move around, right?
They do. They change quite a lot. We always have a promotional item going on. Yeah.
What one menu item would you like to bring back?
To bring back? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a tough one because we always have things going back and forth. I think the Mac Rib, which kind of came back recently.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it was a little bit different from when it originally was there. But yeah, that is something that if I had the opportunity to bring back, but same as when it first came, that is one that I'll definitely bring back. Yes.
That's a good one. What's one habit that has changed your life?
One habit. I think one habit that has really changed my life is just believing in myself. And as easy as it sounds, it's a really tough thing to do, especially when you're in progressively challenging situations and things get harder and harder. For me, it's just about telling myself every morning when I get out of bed that I need to aim to be better than the person that I was yesterday, and believing that I actually have what it takes to do it. And if I don't have what it takes, I'm willing to put in the hard work to learn to be that. I think that belief, that practice, that daily talking to myself has really changed my life from, the boy that kind of landed in the UK as a 22-year-old and kind of looking to build a dream, to the person that I am now who is running a business and still has dreams of growing that business and potentially even taking that to other parts of the world.
You know what? McDonald's in Africa, in West Africa, yes, I'm up for that, honestly. I'll even visit. I've never been to Ghana or Nigeria or Senegal. I would go there.
Yeah.
Just to experience that. Yeah. And so I lived in Asia for a few years.
Yeah.
And the McDonald's there had rice. It was different.
It does.
So will that be incorporated if that plan goes ahead?
It has to be. It has to be. The brand has to be tailored slightly to the palate of the people in that part of the world, and so you might have things like fried plantain or even some form of jerk chicken on the menu. And I think for me, when I do get to that stage, and if I do have the opportunity, it will be working with the local aspect in all these parts of the world, saying how do we infuse this West African element into McDonald's so that it's the same as going to McDonald's Thailand or McDonald's Portugal, and they have certain things that are very different from the McDonald's you might find in Chicago or find in London. And I think we'll be doing something very similar if we do get the opportunity to take it to our part. So yeah, it will be exciting. It'll be really exciting. It will be the honor of my life to be able to do something like that. And really hoping that opportunity presents itself hopefully over the next 10 to 15 years.
Honestly, I wish you the best on that. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I believe that the Bible tells us that I knew you before you were formed in your mother's stomach.
Absolutely.
So, he knew you, he adorned you, he blessed you with all this. So, you know what, bring McDonald's to West Africa.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Going to be exciting.
Yes. So, what's your ethics? Work hard or work smart?
Definitely work smart. It's a combination of both. To work smart, you have to have some element of hard work to it. You have to be able to find what works well or doesn't work well and do that. So I've always worked really hard. I believe in hard work. You cannot achieve success without hard work. But if you're not working smart, you might as well not work at all, because you have to be able to work smart to achieve your goals. So yeah, for me, I would say definitely work smart, but it's hard work doing that.
Yeah, you gotta work smart. I think it's as you say, it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one last bit. Why is the McDonald's ice cream machine always broken? It's a joke going around, so I had to ask.
No, it's a good one. I think there's some element of truth to it. I think we started kind of pulling some data in our restaurants to see how many restaurants at any given point in time are not selling, milkshakes and stuff like that. And it was kind of a huge number. The challenge is that, those machines, they have a certain volume that they can do. And sometimes during the summer, this country, it gets warm and then it gets cold. So when, they are pushing through trying to serve as many customers as possible, the machine just kind of gives up, and, you need to get an engineer and it takes a day or two for them to come and fix it. So yeah, we've had issues with that, but we're working on our supply chain to find the best equipment that doesn't break down as frequently as possible. In one of my restaurants, we do actually have 2 shake machines. So most of the time when one has a problem, the other one is still serving and stuff like that. So yeah, we're looking at all the ways to be able to serve the famous McFlurries to as many people as possible all year round without any challenges with that. So yeah, we're working on that.
Yes. Well, Joey, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about franchising, for everything that you've said today. How can people reach you if they want to learn about franchising?
They can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm very big on responding to people. I do that on a daily basis. People that reach out to me wanting to hear my knowledge, my insights. So anyone that kind of wants to find me, Joey and Kusi on LinkedIn, drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to share anything that I need to.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, neighbors, I had an amazing time with Joey, and I'm glad that you also did. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and until next time, I'm your host, JEICY Joyce. Bye.